I keep saying that I'm doing a series of novels based on the Bible stories in 1st and 2nd Samuel during the time of the United Monarchy. But how united was the monarchy really? If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I'm in the process of writing a series of novels called Age of the Kingdom, based on the period of time 3,000 years ago when Israel had a united monarchy under King Saul, King David, and King Solomon. But was the united monarchy really all that united? The first king, Saul, got off to a rocky start. When it was announced that he was to be the king, he actually ran and hid and had to be found by his cousin Abner. The first several months of his reign, he didn't do much of anything at all. He finally hit his stride when the city of Jabesh Gilead on the other side of the Jordan River was besieged by the Ammonites, and he raised an army of 300,000 men. His victory over the Ammonites in that battle caused all Israel to rally around him and proclaim him king once again. And from that point on, he was fairly strong. He had some good victories against the Philistines, which was the #1 enemy of Israel during that period. And everything went pretty well until David killed Goliath. In that battle, Saul was immobilized by fear, and he just wasn't able to do anything. David was a civilian and just a young teenager, and he arrived and was able to kill Goliath, the giant that was keeping Saul from moving forward in the battle. After that, Saul felt like David was going to take the kingdom away from him. With good reason, because Samuel had anointed David to be the next king. And so Saul determined to kill David. David was from the tribe of Judah, and Judah felt like they should be the one to have the king. There were even some prophecies to that effect, that Judah would be where the king would come from. David had to run for his life because Saul was trying to kill him, and many people joined him who were also on the outs with King Saul. And so there was a divide, some people loyal to David, some people loyal to Saul. Finally, when Saul was killed in battle, it appeared that David could finally realize his destiny as king of all of Israel. But it was not to be, because Abner, Saul's cousin, installed Ishbosheth, Saul's 4th son, as king of the northern tribes, at the same time that David was crowned king in Judah, in Hebron. And so there was actually a civil war at that time, and the division between Judah in the south and Israel in the north, which was all the rest of the tribe, became a thing, and it would continue to be a thing over time. For a year and a half, the civil war continued, and then both Abner and Ishbosheth were assassinated at different times by different people. And even though the way was now clear for David to become king of all the tribes, he did not press the matter, but waited for the northern tribes to come around. It took them another 5.5 years to finally agree for David to be king over them. Once David was king of all Israel, he conquered Jerusalem, which was not an Israelite city at that time. It was actually called Jebus, and it was inhabited by the Jebusites. And there was a good reason why David wanted Jerusalem to be his capital. It was right on the border between the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. And so that was his way of saying that he was going to be the king of all Israel. He did not remain king in Hebron, which would have been seen as just a Judahite king, but he made his capital Jerusalem. And so for a while, David did well as the king of all Israel. This part of the story is covered in the third novel of the series, which I'm writing now. It will be called The Eternal Kingdom. Things went well during David's reign for a while, perhaps half of the time that he reigned, until his son Absalom was able to gather the support of the tribes, the elders, and he actually launched a coup against his father. And so David had to flee one more time. He left Jerusalem, crossed the Jordan, and Absalom took control of the city. And then there was another small civil war. David and those loyal to him were victorious, and Absalom was killed in the battle. David was then able to solidify his kingdom, bring the people who had rebelled back into the fold, and continue his reign in peace. When his son, King Solomon, succeeded him, he had an ideal situation, unity among the tribes, and he used that to his advantage to expand the territory of his kingdom, to build a string of fortified cities on the outskirts of the kingdom, and to greatly increase trade to the point that the nation of Israel became very wealthy. The only problem was, in the process of becoming a very rich kingdom, Solomon saddled the Israelites with tremendous taxes. And as taxes tend to do, they just seemed to always go up. And so the Israelites began to feel oppressed. So that when Solomon died, his son Rehoboam became king, but the northern tribes rebelled, and they crowned Jeroboam as their king. And so then the division between Judah in the south and Israel in the north became permanent. This time they would not come back together. And eventually, after several generations, the northern kingdom of Israel would be swept away by the Assyrian Empire, and they would be scattered to the four winds and assimilated into all the cultures that they were taken to, never to be seen again. Judah in the south was eventually conquered by Babylon, but they were able to return and rebuild, and it became Judea during the time of Christ. But they never really were an independent nation again. So how united was the United Monarchy? Not very, really. But I guess we in the United States can identify with political division. Well, that's all for this time. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you did, like and subscribe to my channel. And if you're just getting started reading the Bible, there's some links in the description below to some books that might help you get started. See you next time.